This is Jablam Hockey with your hosts, Peter Bojarinoff and Paul Swinbeck. Welcome to Jablam Hockey, folks. I'm your host, Peter Bojarinoff. You can catch me on Twitter at Russian98. How are my levels, Paul?
They're pretty good.
They're pretty good?
Yeah.
And I'm with
Paul Zwambag. You can catch me at Zwambag. ZWAMBAG.
Perfect. So, yeah, I was just asking Paul how are my levels because he's right behind me. But we're not going to look at each other during this whole episode. All right. Let's get into it. If you haven't been there already, apparently we're doing pretty well on the website, Paul. They're jablamhockey.com. That's where we're at. Go check it out. We have everything there. All our episodes are there. We've isolated our team ISOs. Haha. Did you get that, Paul?
I get it.
Isolated.
Stop looking at me.
Okay. So we've done that. They're on there. If you only want to check out your teams, boom, it's separated. It's on there. Check it out. And, of course, we're working on other stuff in our Saturday's picks. Everything's there. Go check it out. And again, if you haven't done it, resubscribe to our podcast on iTunes and rate and review us, please. All right, what do we have this episode? We're going to be team ISOing the Chicago Blackhawks and the St. Louis Blues. We've also got Jablam Junior Hockey Playoff Update. And we're going to compare. We're going to do the compare thing again, but this is teams. The Blackhawks and the Blues have a good rivalry. And we're going to compare and match up them together and see how they play against each other in playoffs. All right, first, trending now. Duncan Keith gets suspended 6 games. That breaks down to basically 5 regular season games and 1 playoff game. Paul, what do you think about that?
I wish we had a chance to talk about this before the actual ruling, because you put out on Twitter a question of what you thought was going to happen, and I wanted to rebuttal it, but we did not discuss it because we haven't done an episode in a little bit. So
yeah,
I kind of agreed. I thought he was going to get 1, maybe 2 games going into the playoffs, but no more than 2, at most 2.
Yeah.
So we kind of had the same opinion that it was going to be, they were going to hurt him playoff-wise.
Yeah, just a slap on the wrist in my opinion. 5 games, a nice little rest. Nice little rest going into the playoffs. Exactly what they need. Maybe lower that cap hit a bit and leave the bonuses in there, that they're going to be hitting on them hard for Panarin and stuff for next year. And a little slap on the wrist. Keith doesn't have to play the first game of the playoffs. I wanted 10 games. I wanted 5 regular season, 5 playoff. What did you want, Paul? Is it about the same?
I was okay with 2 playoff games.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 and 2 would have been all right with me. And you know what? I'm all right with the 5 and 1 as well.
Yeah, you're okay with that?
Yeah, I'm all right with that.
Yeah. Just because he's had the history. He's already done the exact same incident of hitting another guy in the head when he hit Jeff Carter in the head versus the LA Kings in the playoffs, I believe. He's done other things like the Marian Hossa thing. He sometimes goes over the edge, and it's a big retaliation factor that has been against Keith that he really needs to calm it down. In the game, yes, he's a little bit aggressive, but that 3-4 second delay and then a retaliation of whipping the stick at someone's head, that's really got to go. And what if in the future he does it exactly the same, maybe 2 years or 3 years down the road, and he blinds somebody in the eye? One guy's, has 50-50 vision in one eye. This is going to be looked at like they did not punish him enough if something like this happens. And in my opinion, they didn't punish him enough.
No, I'm all right with it. I really am all right with it.
All right. Well, I think he should have got more, but yeah, it's just 1 game, but yeah, whatever. Let's move on. Paul, your Penguins are on fire.
Yeah, they're playing well.
They're playing today, I think, against the Flyers, and they look like they're probably going to win again. What is that going to be, like 12 wins and 1 loss in the last 13 games or something?
Yeah, and 6 straight.
6 straight. That's crazy. And they're without Malkin for almost that whole stretch. Now Matt Murray's playing the last 2 games, and he's looked solid.
Yeah, they're playing really good hockey. I think they've scored 5, 6, 4 goals. They're playing excellent hockey. They have a ton of speed in their lineup. The Hagelin, Kessel, Bonino line is just flying right now, and Hornqvist is putting the puck in the net too.
Is it mostly because of that second line? Is it mostly because Phil Kessel is on fire right now? Or what about the young defensemen? It's been a whole season. They've struggled on and off, and now have they put it together in the back end?
I think they've tried to cover them more of their
They're coming
defense.
back more, the forwards.
Yeah.
Okay.
And their third and fourth lines of the AHL guys are just unbelievably two-way players. And they got so much speed that they come back every single play. They block a ton of shots. Kuhnhackl, I think, blocks 3 or 4 shots a game at least.
It looked like he almost hurt himself on that one block shot in this game today.
Yeah.
I was afraid for him. He put almost his face in the puck.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're coming back, and they're doing a good job.
And you can finally see Mike Sullivan's team. He's built the team the way he wants them to play, and they're now playing that way. And hopefully it continues into the playoffs.
The playoffs is a different animal, though. And the Penguins have a great offensive team, but you need a really good defensive team, I always believe, in the playoffs. And Fleury is good. Hopefully he should be ready for the playoffs, right?
Yeah, he's getting reevaluated on Monday, so by the time people listen to this, he probably will have news on how Fleury's doing. But Matt Murray, I got total confidence in. The guy had 16 shutouts in 49 games last year in the AHL, I think it was. Mm-hmm. So he definitely can stop a puck.
How deep do you think the Pens can go in this playoff?
Well, I'm going to be a little biased because I'm a Penguins fan, but I don't think they can make it to the finals, but I wouldn't be surprised if they made it to the finals. Mm-hmm. Just because if they can outscore teams, which we've said past 2-3 years, they just try and outscore teams.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a good
way to go into the playoffs.
Yeah, that's not how you play playoff hockey.
I agree, but they are much better defensively than they have been in the past 2 years. So
I think they'll be opened up in the playoffs when it comes, especially with depth and on maybe the third defensive line, that kind of thing. And if they match up against a second line with like a Kuznetsov on the Capitals, or if they play the Flyers, that'll be a great series as usual to watch. But the Pens could get beat up that way physically.
Well, and we have handled the Flyers well this year.
Yeah.
So we've kind of got that monkey off the back, so we normally can't play them very well. Even in Philadelphia, we've been beating them. So
yeah,
I think I'd be all right if we met up with Philadelphia this year, just the way our mindset is playing them. We're no longer trying to fight them and bully them, and that's coming out in the game that Flyers can't do it back because we just walk away. We're not the fighting type anymore.
I know going into playoffs, and a lot of people with hockey pools, especially mine, I have a playoff one, everybody's putting all their eggs in the Capitals and the Hawks, and then maybe the Kings right after. I told you, for the last few days, I'm going with Tampa Bay. But I didn't even put this in the episode, but now we've been hit with the Steven Stamkos blood clot injury. This destroys, in my opinion, the Tampa Bay playoff hopes. I was banking on them. They were going to be like my third team to bank on to go very, very, very far. I thought they had a really good chance because the Metro, division will blow up and implode on themselves. Whereas if Tampa has to go through the Atlantic division, it'd be much easier if they played Detroit or the Bruins or the Florida Panthers. I had them going at least to the third round. Now with this injury, they're out of the picture, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, when Stralman went down, that was a concern.
Yeah.
One of their top defense pairing went down, and everybody was like, uh-oh, this isn't going to help the Bolts. And now Stamkos is out 1 to 3 months. It's probably leaning closer to 3 months.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to rush him back, no matter how well they're doing in the playoffs. But it's going to put a lot of stock on the triplet line. They're going to have to step up.
They're going to be matching up against the top defensive pairing on the other team now every game.
Yeah.
And they're kind of not used to that, especially maybe this season with their injuries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So this is just a huge question mark of Tampa. I can't even see them right now winning one round.
Really?
It's going to be really tough for them. So now I'm leaning on more of the underdog Philly or maybe Pittsburgh as my backup Eastern team to go really, really far. That's what I'm thinking. After the Capitals, highly favorited, in my opinion, are the Penguins and the Flyers, especially how well they're playing right now.
So we compared Tampa Bay with Boston last week.
Yeah.
And kind of talked about that. Do you think they can beat Detroit, who they're matched up with right now?
Tampa?
Yeah. I think they could. Yeah, I think they can handle.
I think
the Red
they
Wings.
could beat Detroit just because Detroit's really shaky, and they're only in the playoffs because Boston is playing that much worse.
Oh yeah.
So that's the only reason they're in the playoffs, in my opinion. They should be just outside as well. But yeah, I think Tampa Bay might have a slight edge against Detroit. But if they play the Bruins and Bruins sneak in, I still think Bruins could beat Tampa.
All right. So could they beat?
Yeah, right now with Stamkos out, yeah.
Could they beat the Islanders? Because if they finish ahead of Florida,
You know what? I don't know. I think.
well, it's not gonna be the Islanders because
Yeah.
they're falling apart. So
Yeah, so I think that would be a tough matchup just because I think the Islanders have a little more grit to them that they could win a series like that. All right, let's move on. We were talking about the Masterton Award last episode, and now they've named Jaromir Jagr for the Florida Panthers. What did I say, Paul? Did I call that Jagr should be nominated for this award?
yeah.
He is totally deserving at his age to be playing this extremely well, leading his Florida Panthers in points. It's a no-brainer, in my opinion. In my opinion, he has to be one of the top 3 nominees.
Yeah, I haven't really looked at the full list of nominees, but yeah, he should definitely be up there in the conversation for sure.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, and I'm so glad that they did nominate him.
Definitely over Ryan O'Reilly.
Yes. All right, Paul, did you see the Swedish Elite League that the Modo has now fallen off and gone to the lower tier?
Yeah, they got relegated.
Yeah.
Big, huge deal.
First off, I didn't really know this much about they had that relegation stuff going on in Sweden because I only pretty much watch North American hockey and then some KHL hockey. But yes, this can happen in the Swedish Hockey League. And so Modo loses, they drop because they had a best of 7 game series against Leksand?
Yeah. And they lost 2 overtime games. Game 7 went into overtime, and they lost that game. They had a horrible, horrible season. And it's funny because you came to me and said, did you see Philip Forsberg's reaction?
Yeah.
And I went back to you and was like, did you see Peter Forsberg's reaction? Because Philip Forsberg played for Leksand,
Yeah.
and Peter Forsberg is an assistant GM for Modo. So
And yes, and many great Swedish hockey players like Mats Sundin and the list goes on have played for Modo.
yeah.
So they have a huge, long history. To see Forsberg, Peter Forsberg, get that pissed off, and I think he threw a water bottle, went almost on the ice. He was going crazy. The guy next to him, too, he was devastated as well.
Yeah, there were a lot of F-bombs coming from
It was hilarious to see.
Yeah.
You can go check it on YouTube, folks. It's hilarious.
It's going to be really hard for them to get back in. Like, they got to win the
lower tier.
the tier
Below.
below, and then they have to win a 7-game series. So
This is crazy. You have to win the lower tier, win the championship, and then play a 7-game series
yeah,
to hopefully not get relegated against that team. That's crazy. It's pretty interesting.
yeah, it's pretty neat, and it'd be kind of cool to come up with something for the NHL to do that. But
Yeah, well, with the way the system works in the AHL, you
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
really get into it. All right, let's get into our Team ISO. Our first one, we are Team ISOing the Chicago Blackhawks. Well, at the beginning of the season, I actually had the Hawks in that second to third spot in that Central Division, really because of all the changes that they had to go through with winning another cup. Oduya's gone, Patrick Sharp's gone, etc., etc. I easily figured, especially during the regular season, shortened summer as well, that they're going to drop to maybe that third, especially because I had predicted the Stars go up and Blues to probably win the Central. But I didn't obviously see the emergence of Panarin. This guy has been stellar and easily a nominee, and he's going to be battling with McDavid for that Calder. But Patrick Kane as well, being an MVP, that as well blew my mind. I didn't see Patrick Kane being ever this damn good.
Yeah. He's dominated.
He's easily going to win the MVP. He's going to win the Hart.
Yeah,
he's got to win the Hart. And Panarin could probably win the Calder. They've been tremendous to watch as a team, as a unit on the ice. It's been amazing.
Yeah, they found chemistry real quick. And it's gone through all year. Like, there's no slowing them down right now.
They are really solid.
Are you ready for a quick stat on Panarin and McDavid conversation for Calder?
Go ahead. Tell me that McDavid has a great points per game.
No. Panarin, his draft-eligible year, Connor McDavid would have been 13 years old.
The whole Calder age thing,
so Panarin, he's a whole lot older, but he's had a great year. He's now top 10. He just passed Kopitar as top 10.
Wow.
So he's getting that big bonus that he's supposed to be lined up for if he finishes in top 10 in scoring.
And it's a totally different game. There's a lot of physicality in the KHL. It's a lot more open ice. I'm surprised how well he's adapted so easily and so smooth, and then found that amazing chemistry with Patrick Kane.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. We can talk all day about their core. Paul, in my opinion, nobody has a better top five, a top core in the league outside of Chicago. Kane, Taze, Hossa, Keith, and Seabrook, as well as Corey Crawford. It's a great core and top five. These guys are outstanding. But I'm not 100% sure on the Hawks' depth. The defensive depth, especially. Yes, Hallomerson is underrated. But outside of that, TVR, Trevor Van Riemsdyk, Rundblad, I don't know. They don't have that much playoff experience, and I feel that they could be exposed in the playoffs. They might overplay their top guys, like Seabrook and Keith, again. And then that could wear them down, but we've never seen the wearing down yet happen, especially on Keith.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't want to say much because we're doing a compare later, and I got a lot to say on that team. So
yeah,
but yeah, they're I think they're going to go deep into the playoffs. But then again, like, look at all the other teams that have gone deep. They get tired. They run out of steam because they've made so many long playoff pushes.
And it's sometimes
so many games.
It's sometimes very odd because sometimes teams play really well one series, and the next series just evaporates.
Yeah.
Especially when you play a team like the Flyers. And that's a big question mark with a team like the Flyers because they can have an amazing series and then just lose that emotion and, passion of the game the next series. If they play like a series versus like the Penguins, both teams might lose that passion the next round. And that could happen maybe with Chicago if they play the Blues. So, again, their offense, though, has great depth. So you can't say anything with, those guys, Shaw, Anisimov, Teravainen, we haven't even mentioned, Ladd, Fleischmann, even Kruger's great depth for them. So what prospects do you have for us, Paul, for the Hawks?
Just a couple quick ones because they kind of trade away all their prospects and they don't really take anything back because they are always competing, so they don't really need to ever rebuild. Mm-hmm. But Ryan Hartman, his first-round pick from 2013, he was 30th overall. I don't think they've had a top 15 pick in I don't know how long.
Yeah.
So they don't have like an elite prospect, but they always just kind of find guys that can just fit into lineups, and they go and sign guys like Panarin and Teravainen. Like they just another guy, Victor Svedberg, the free agent signing 2013 from Frölunda. He's played 23 games this year on the back end. So you were talking about back end depth. This kid has played with men before, so there's no reason why he can't jump into a 5-6 spot if needed. A little bit deeper, Gustav Forsling, he played in the juniors this year, or the World Juniors, traded from Vancouver, so they are taking these guys that they can develop, and they don't need to rush them. Ville Polka, another guy they traded from the Islanders, a second-round pick. Yeah, Nick Schmaltz, first-round pick, 20th pick. I think that's the highest their pick has gone in a long time.
Schmaltz?
Schmaltz.
Isn't that the doctor's name from Voyager?
I have no idea.
Sorry, I was going into Star Trek mode there. But I think in one episode he was like a Viking or something, and they all called him Schmaltz.
Well, there's no relation, so sorry. But yeah, their prospects aren't that deep, and it's kind of expected with a team that's won so many Stanley Cups, so they're picking 30th overall. How many times?
Or they're finding these guys, and they're going somewhere in Europe and finding some great undrafted guys.
Yeah.
And that's just a great thing.
And they can just develop these guys slow. They don't need to rush anybody.
Yep. All right. Well, like we said before, we're going to be comparing later at the end of the episode the Hawks versus the Blues. All right, let's go right into the Jablam Junior Playoff Hockey update. What is it, Paul? How's that going?
Oh, it's going real great. Kingston Frontenacs are looking dominant. They won a 4-1 series against the Generals, so they have finally won a playoff series since, I think, 1986 or 89 or something like that. So, yeah, they are making it into the second round. The Kitchener Rangers outscored Windsor like 28 goals for, I think they were. So the Rangers are looking real hot right now. London just clinched their playoff series against the Attack. Erie swept Saginaw Spirit, so that was an easy match for them. Not a lot of upsetters. The only real upset so far that could happen is Sault Ste. Marie over Sarnia Sting, so that's real big. They lost Travis Konechny for Sarnia, so that's going to hurt them. He was a big trade acquisition at the deadline, so that losing him, he went to Philadelphia to talk to the Philadelphia doctors. That's how bad it was. So,
wow.
And then they shipped him back. He's back in Sarnia. I don't know if he'll get into Game 6, which is tonight on Sunday night. But yeah, that's big. The Colts are they're getting put up on a big fight by the Steelheads, Mississauga, a bunch of young kids. Alex Nylander, Williams' brother,
Yep.
is having a great series. I think he's got 9 points. I think they won 7-0 today.
Wow.
Against the Colts to make it a 3-3 series, so that could be an upsetter. Let's move on to the WHL. Just a quick look at the WHL. Not a lot of upsets. Moose Jaw upset Prince Albert Raiders 4-1. That's one of them. Regina Pats beat Lethbridge Hurricanes. Hurricanes were supposed to go deep, and they got beat out. Brandon Wheat Kings had a bit of a scare against the Oil Kings. Lost the first 2 games at home. The Wheat Kings, like I said, from day one, they are built for the Memorial Cup, so they're going to look to bounce back. I think they play tonight as well. Seattle swept Prince George. Everett swept Portland Winterhawks. Not a lot to go on. Adam Brooks is leading the WHL right now in scoring. And then the QMJHL, ruined Noranda, 4 straight wins, just dominated. I think they shut out Drummondville 2 straight, but it's kind of expected. QMJHL runs it a little differently, 1 versus 16 seed, so obviously the top team's going to smoke the 16 seed.
Yep.
Blainville Boys Brand is beating Val d'Or 3-2 right now, so that's a big series. And Charlottetown's...
is that the game that was going into deep overtime?
Yeah, they're double overtime, Game 6, so
wow.
I think they're now into triple overtime. I haven't looked at the score since we started recording, but
yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. Moncton Wildcats, Connor Garland led his team to a 4-1 victory over Victoriaville. St. John over Acadia Bathurst. Shawinigan over Sherbrooke 4-1. So, yeah, not a lot of upsets yet. QMJHL normally has a bunch of upsets, so Blainville Boys Brand might be that.
That's what I love about hockey. There's usually a fair bit of upsets. It's not as predictable as like some other leagues.
Yeah, and I tweet out a daily brackets for WHL, OHL, and QMJHL. It's updated every day, and it's usually around 11:30, 12 that I tweet it out, so check my Twitter feed at Zwombag.
Check that out.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into our other team ISO. We're also team ISOing the St. Louis Blues. I like them. They're one of the teams that I kind of like just because they're a very good brand of two-way hockey. But that doesn't really help when you don't have the 1 or 2 or 3 guys that you can count on to score big goals in the playoffs. But again, during the season, I picked them to win the division. They're close there, but it looks like the Stars might edge them out. They are that much better, I guess. So again, like I said, they're having a great season, solid two-way game, and it's amazing how well they've played. And I give the props to Hitchcock. He's a tremendous coach, and he makes his players play a great system.
Yeah.
On top of all the man games lost they've had this season, they're second, I think, or the worst in man games lost versus top player value when you have guys like Schwartz and Berglund are missing more than half the season.
Yeah, and the Blues are built on depth. Like, they've always had deep rosters. Like, not top talent. Like, Tarasenko obviously is a top talent, but
they have guys that are second, third line guys throughout the whole lineup.
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's how they're built. Again, their roster, it starts and it's led by, of course, the sniper, Pavel Tarasenko. And it looks like, again,
Pavel Tarasenko?
you know, there's so many Russians that...
Vladimir?
Vladimir.
You know what's awesome? I saw it on your notes when you asked me to print out your notes for you.
And you didn't fix it for me, did you?
Nope. I saw it and I was like, I wonder if that's a nickname or if he just thinks it's Pavel.
Well, sometimes I'm writing these things at like 4 in the morning.
No, it's
Thanks.
awesome.
All right, well, Vladimir is great. He's terrific. And again, it looks like he's going to finish top 5 in goals this season. So slick, and he has a quick, wicked wrist shot. He's just amazing. But then the whole team is pretty much with versatile two-way guys. Hitters and strong plays from Backes, Reeves, and Brouwer, they're way up there. And then solid guys that can put up that 20 to 25 goals from Steen to Stastny, who's also great on the faceoffs, and the emergence now this year of Robbie Fabry. They're great. And again, Berglund and Schwartz should be there, but they've missed most of the season. So maybe they might be a little more fresh going into playoffs. That's what I'm hoping, and that's what I think might happen. It'll be interesting. But the Blues on the back end, I think, might have one of the best back ends in the entire NHL. Schwartz and Shattenkirk and Pietrangelo, they're terrific. They're great first pairing. Kevin can put up solid offensive numbers, and Alex is great 2A and brings out the puck really well out of the zone. Bouwmeester is one of the best in the league at eating up minutes. He can play forever. And Gunnar is a solid 4-5 role for them. And then the emergence now of Colton Parayko, who's been a pretty good player, especially in that first half. He was excellent there when they had injuries. And even Edmondson. He's been pretty good back there as well.
Yeah, he's really...
So that's... I don't know who else has a better top 6 back end. Maybe the Preds?
Yeah, the Predators are... They
and maybe an underrated, Rangers. Rangers have a pretty good 6.
I'm not going to agree with that once again.
Yeah, you might not think so. But,
Anaheim's got a pretty solid defense core.
They're really young, though.
Yeah.
I don't know how well they're going to be this year in the playoffs with their back end. But they're fast. They're very good, fast back end for the Ducks.
Yeah.
So the Blues are very solid back end. Maybe not as fast as some of the other ones, but they're pretty solid back there. And it makes their goaltending look great. And, of course, what is Elliott like the best goalie maybe this year? Statistically, save percentage-wise, it sure says so.
Yeah, but I think Braden Holtby takes that best goalie this year.
Because he's played that many more games and has that many more wins.
Yeah, he's about to break Brodeur's win record in a season. And had played like 14 less games. So
he's outstanding, Holtby, of course, Like I said before, Holtby's the top goalie in the NHL this year, and even, of course, last year and this year combined.
Yeah.
So, but Elliott's a great goalie, and he's pretty underrated. with the Blues having a good two-way system and a good defensive unit, too. That helps a lot.
Yeah, it'll be interesting who they go with, Elliott or Allen. I know we talked about this a couple episodes ago, about goalie situations going into the playoffs. Going for the playoff pool, I'm not touching either of these goalies. I think St. Louis will be pretty good.
Yep.
I just don't think... I don't know. They've done so poorly in the playoffs when the playoffs come. They're such a good regular season team, and then the playoffs come and they just crumble for some reason.
Well, how can you say crumble when they're playing the Hawks or the Kings almost every year in the first round?
This is true, and it's probably going to happen again this year.
Yeah,
so
they're probably going to play the Hawks again.
They need that first overall in the Central real bad.
Yeah, that would help a lot if they play the Wild, which the Wild beat them.
Yeah,
I think it was last year or the year before.
Yeah,
so
they're a tough playoff team.
Like I said, you need one or two, maybe more, but at least two really potent snipers in the playoffs. You need a guy you can count on, and the Blues have never had that until basically last year. With Tarasenko, really had a whole year or two in his experience level. And he's a guy you can count on. But is there anybody else? Is Backes that guy? I don't think so, especially not anymore, maybe.
Schwartz could be that guy?
Schwartz, maybe. Oshie's gone, but he wasn't good in the playoffs. Yeah. And I think that's why they moved on from TJ Oshie.
Yeah.
So they still need one more guy, and that's why I don't think the Blues can go far, but hopefully they can maybe win at least 1 or 2 rounds. But it'll be tough for them, and that's where we go right into. And I'm going to have to protect, as we do this segment, the compare segment. We are comparing, in this episode, the Blackhawks versus the Blues. St. Louis versus Chicago. Paul's going with Chicago. I'm going with St. Louis. So, Paul, I'll go with my timer. And why are the Hawks going to beat the Blues in the playoffs? Go.
2 names, Patrick Kane, Artemi Panarin. You can't slow these guys down. They had a slow 2 weeks at the end of March, and they were still putting up numbers. These guys are going to pick apart the Blues. There's no way they can have Shattenkirk and Pietrangelo on these guys all the time. And then if you can slow these guys down, Taves Hossa Ladd line is just unbelievable. They are going to be so strong. They can put the puck in the net. One word to explain that line, clutch. That line is going to be clutch. This Duncan Keith suspension, in the long run, is going to help the Blackhawks. Him sitting for 5 games plus 1 playoff game, that 1 playoff game might hurt them a little bit, but he's going to be so fresh. There's no way they're playing the 5 and 6 guys more than 10 minutes a night. No way. Especially last year, he already played 82 games, and he's putting up 30 minutes a game. He's going to do that again this year.
I'm giving you a 30-second sign, Paul.
Stop looking at me. Crawford may be injured, but Scott Darling can hold down the net till Crawford comes back. And I think Crawford, they're just sitting him out for the playoffs. I think he will return in the playoffs. So I think the Blackhawks are going to dominate the Blues if they face each other in the playoffs. That's no doubt about it. That's a guarantee. Paul's Wambag guarantee.
All right. I'll ask you a question first then. How many games do you think the series would go then? If it's a guarantee for you saying the Hawks
5.
5 games?
Yep.
All right. Time for my turn.
Go.
You know what? They're due. It's St. Louis's time. And why? Number one, like I said before, the Blues have better defensive depth. Shattenkirk, Pietrangelo, Periaco, Bouwmeester, Gunnarsson, Edmondson. That depth is going to break down those guys like TVR and Rundblad. That depth of Chicago won't last. Number 2, again, like I said, Elliott, best save percentage among all goalies. He can maybe take it to the next level and stop the Hawks. The next one is the Blues are that much fresh. Those guys, like I said, Schwartz and Berglund, have missed more than half the year. They'll be super fresh. And the rest of the team, they haven't played as many games as the Hawks have played. Hawks have played, what, almost like 100 games more than other guys in the playoffs? I think it's like top 6 of the top 8 games, 8 players in the league have played that many. The Hawks have 6 of the top 8 that have played that many more games within these last 6 seasons combined. Way too many games. That's going to break them down like it has already Marian Hossa. Hossa's already slowing down. I don't think he's going to be that much of a factor. So you know what, Paul? The Blues are due to win.
All right. I'm going to give a quick rebuttal. One quick rebuttal.
Go ahead.
Chicago and St. Louis have played 4 games this season. Chicago has won 2 and have taken the other 2 to overtime and shootout and lost those games, outscoring the Blues 13-10. Their final game they play, April 7th. Great precursor to this playoff series, if it happens. Is. That game on the 7th is going to be awesome to watch because it's really going to turn into an 8-game series. It's going to be good. It'll be,
you know what, either way, and I truly do believe the Hawks should probably beat St. Louis in maybe 6 or 7 games. That's what I'm thinking. I think St. Louis can still take them to the limit to the 7 games. But, yes, the Hawks have just too many weapons and that much depth. So
I won the compare. Boom. Done.
Well,
Everybody heard it.
I gave you the Hawks because I like St. Louis.
Everybody heard it.
But I do think St. Louis is due. That's why I'm hoping they don't play the Hawks in the first round, but it looks like they just might. So that's, it's sad for St. Louis that they always have to play the Kings or the Hawks in the playoffs, and it's tough for the first round. You know, it would be nice if they had to play them in second or third round just so they had that, more experience and that playoff flow. Because St. Louis is actually a pretty good playoff team, except they don't have that offensive clutch finish.
Yeah.
And Tarasenko is now that guy, but they need more than just Tarasenko.
And I really do think the goalie tandem might hurt them because it's going to be weighed on so much who plays, who gets the crease.
Yeah.
And if Elliott loses the first game, it's going to be what if Jake Allen gets the net.
Yeah.
And that's not going to help Elliott. It's going to help Allen, and then he will lose a game. He'll win a game, and then he'll lose one, and it's like, well, do we go back to Elliott? I really am not a fan of goalie tandems.
Me neither.
I just don't. I think you need a number one guy.
But it has happened before.
Yeah.
Carolina, when they went far,
yes,
it was Kevin Weeks and Ward. Well, Ward was after, but even before.
Yeah.
So it's happened. So you never know. But either way, it's gonna be one of the best series in the first round.
Yeah.
Physical powerhouse series.
Yeah.
And you hope that whichever team does win isn't that much banged up for the next round.
Yeah.
That's another reason why I'm not favoring the Hawks to go far this year. They haven't won a back-to-back yet. And it has to take a toll. Not just on Hossa, but on some of these other guys. Keith has played how many minutes in every single game they played in all those overtime games they've played over the last 6 years? It's insane how many minutes he's played.
Yeah.
It's going to take a toll, and this is a good thing that happened with the suspension that he's missed, taken a week and a half off, 2 weeks, including the first playoff game. That's going to really help.
Yeah.
So, all right. What do we have? Are we going to do Saturday's picks, Paul?
Well, since it's Sunday, we can't really do Saturday's picks.
So we have made our picks.
We did make our picks,
and we posted them on our website.
Yep, and
JablamHockey.com. They're up there. But how did we do, Paul?
Yeah, okay. You were above 500 this week. I was below 500.
So I just beat you.
6-5, 5-6. We picked all the same teams except for LA, Dallas. We had opposites.
Yep.
I won that one with Dallas.
You won the Dallas.
Tampa Bay, New Jersey. You won that one with Tampa Bay.
Yes.
And San Jose, Nashville. And you also called it an overtime win for the Sharks. And that was the only team that went into overtime. You rubbed it in my face.
Because I rubbed it more in your face because of the tie. I don't know how, but I have a magic power with the ties. I call the tie, and it was a 2-0 lead by the Preds. and the Sharks came back, tied it, and then went to overtime and won in the shootout.
Yeah, so our overall record going into the final Saturday is 66-62 for you, and 65-63 for me. So you're one up on me.
It's so close, though. Yeah. And you know what? Hockey is really hard to pick. I'm actually kind of surprised how well we've fairly done, and we're both not the gambler types.
No.
So
this is just purely picking teams that we think are going to win, not looking at odds, not looking
Paul
at
knows when I started this segment of Saturday's Picks, I wanted us to get some kind of gambler to come join us on the podcast just for this segment. I couldn't find the guys, so we continued with just us two, and you know what? I think we've done fairly well.
Yeah. And if you are gambling out there, let us know. Maybe you can be part of the segment next season.
Yeah, we're looking for that.
Yeah, we would love that.
All right, that's it for this episode. Next episode, we're going to be team ISOing the Anaheim Ducks and the LA Kings. We'll obviously do a compare between the two if they play each other in the playoffs.
I think
that's it for this episode. We'll see you within maybe 48 hours because we're going to be doing 2 more episodes really soon, and then I'm going to be flying to Denver to see the Avs play some hockey on their last game of the season.
Nice. Who are they playing?
I think they're playing the Ducks, so it should be pretty good. I like to see the Ducks, how they play going in, and maybe see who I like maybe as my maybe Duck pick in for the playoffs, because I think the Ducks should be pretty good for the playoffs.
Hopefully the Avs aren't out for that, and that game would actually mean something.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Wild have that, like I called the Wild. I think the Wild will win with that final spot.
Yeah, they're up 5, and that's going to be tough to come back.
Yeah. All right, see you until then.